Imagine a country where Roman emperors once ruled, where Muslim caliphs built magnificent palaces, where Christian kings fought for centuries to reclaim their homeland, and whose ships were the first to cross the Atlantic Ocean and discover a new world. That country is Spain. Located in the southwestern corner of Europe, Spain's history stretches back thousands of years, from prehistoric cave paintings to a global empire, from civil war to modern democracy. Before we begin, picture the land itself. Sun-baked plains, jagged mountain ranges, a long Atlantic coast facing the unknown, and a Mediterranean shore that opened the door to the ancient world. Every layer of stone here holds a chapter of human history. In this video, we'll take a detailed journey through the complete history of Spain, from its earliest beginnings to the present day. Let's get started. Spain's story begins carved into stone. In the Altamira cave in the Cantabria region of northern Spain, archaeologists discovered some of the cave paintings that date back between 14,000 and over 30,000 years, with some estimates suggesting even older origins. They depict bison, deer, and wild horses. Torchlight would have flickered across these walls tens of thousands of years before the first cities rose anywhere on Earth. These paintings were created by Paleolithic humans and are considered among the oldest known artistic achievements of human civilization. Over time, various peoples settled across the Iberian Peninsula. By the 3rd millennium BCE, agricultural societies had developed here. Later came the Iberians, from whom the peninsula gets its name. Celtic peoples migrated in from the north, originally from Central Europe. The blending of these two groups created the Celtiberian culture, which spread across the central regions of Spain. Villages of stone and timber rose across the highlands, herding, farming, and metalworking slowly reshaping the land. In the 1st millennium BCE, Mediterranean trading powers, the Phoenicians, Greeks, and Carthaginians, began establishing ports and colonies along the Iberian coast. The Phoenicians founded the city of Gadir, known today as Cadiz, one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in Europe. The Greeks established trading posts along the eastern coast, while the Carthaginians expanded their influence in southern Spain, particularly under the leadership of Hamilcar Barca, father of the famous general Hannibal. Ships from across the ancient Mediterranean now anchored along these same shores, carrying silver, textiles, and new ideas. In 218 BCE, the Second Punic War broke out between Rome and Carthage over control of Iberian territory. Rome emerged victorious, and gradually the entire peninsula came under Roman control. After nearly 2 centuries of warfare and conflict, the whole Iberian Peninsula was brought under Roman authority during the reign of Emperor Augustus around 19 BCE. The region was named Hispania. The modern name Spain ultimately evolved from the Roman name Hispania. Under Roman rule, Hispania became one of the empire's most important provinces. It supplied Rome with gold, silver, copper, and olive oil. The Romans built roads, aqueducts, theaters, and cities, many of which still stand today, such as the Aqueduct of Segovia and the Roman Theater of Merida. Stone by stone, the Romans stitched this province into the wider empire, its wealth flowing back toward the capital. This period produced remarkable figures who rose from Hispania to prominence in the Roman world. Emperors Trajan and Hadrian, the philosopher Seneca, and the poet Lucan. Latin language and Roman law took deep root in Iberian culture during this era, later forming the foundation of the Spanish language. Christianity also gradually spread throughout Hispania during this period, its quiet growth setting the stage for centuries to come. As the Roman Empire began collapsing in the 5th century, various Germanic tribes spread across Europe. In Hispania, the Vandals, Suebi, and Alans arrived first, but ultimately it was the Visigoths who took control of the region, After losing their territory in southern France to the Franks in 507 CE, the Visigoths moved their capital to Toledo, which became their new center of power. A new order was rising from the ashes of Rome's decline. Visigothic rulers gradually blended with the Roman Hispanic population. In 587, King Recared I abandoned Arian Christianity and converted to Catholicism, playing a major role in establishing religious unity across the region. However, the Visigothic kingdom remained politically unstable. Repeated succession conflicts and power struggles among the nobility weakened the state. This very weakness would later create the opportunity for a new force to arrive, a Muslim army advancing from North Africa. In 711 CE, a force led by the Umayyad general Tariq ibn Ziyad crossed the Strait of Gibraltar and entered the Iberian Peninsula. After the defeat of Visigothic King Roderick at the Battle of Guadalete, nearly the entire peninsula fell under Muslim rule within just a few years. Only a few mountainous regions in the north, particularly Asturias, remained outside Muslim control. History was about to turn on the shores of a narrow strait. This new territory was named Al-Andalus. Initially, it was a province of the Umayyad Caliphate based in Damascus. But in 750, when the Abbasids overthrew the Umayyads, a surviving Umayyad prince named Abd al-Rahman fled to Spain, and in 756 established an independent Umayyad emirate in Cordoba. Later, in 929, Abd al-Rahman III declared himself caliph, founding the Caliphate of Cordoba. A dynasty had been reborn far from its ancestral homeland. The era of the Caliphate of Cordoba was the golden age of Al-Andalus. Cordoba became one of the most populous and prosperous cities in Europe, home to libraries, centers of learning, hospitals, and extraordinary architecture, including the famous Mezquita of Cordoba. During this period, Muslims, Christians, and Jews lived alongside one another, though full equality did not exist. Enormous advances were made in science, philosophy, medicine, and literature. Philosophers like Ibn Rushd, Averroes, transmitted interpretations of Greek philosophy that would later reach the rest of Europe through this region. However, in 1031, the Caliphate of Cordoba collapsed and fragmented into numerous small kingdoms known as taifas. This fragmentation gradually weakened the foundations of Muslim rule and created the opportunity for the Christian kingdoms of the north to advance. The unity that had built Cordoba's golden age was now breaking apart from within. From the very beginning of the Muslim conquest, Christian populations who survived in the mountainous regions of northern Spain began organizing resistance. In 722, at the Battle of Covadonga, King Pelayo of Asturias defeated a Muslim force, an event traditionally regarded as the beginning of the Reconquista. This long process would continue for nearly 7.5 centuries. Over time, a series of Christian kingdoms emerged in the north. Asturias evolved into Leon, then Castile, while to the east arose Aragon and Navarre. These kingdoms sometimes united and sometimes fought amongst themselves, but gradually pushed southward. The legendary 11th century warrior El Cid, who fought at different times for both Christian kings and Muslim rulers, became an iconic figure in Spanish folklore. In 1212, the Battle of Las Navas de Tolosa marked a major turning point in the Reconquista. A coalition of Christian kingdoms decisively defeated the Almohad Caliphate. Following this victory, major cities including Cordoba, Seville, and Valencia quickly fell under Christian control. By the mid-13th century, only the Nasrid Kingdom of Granada remained as the last stronghold of Muslim rule, though it managed to survive for nearly 2.5 more centuries by paying tribute to Castile. In 1469, a pivotal event occurred in Spanish history: the marriage of Prince Ferdinand of Aragon and Princess Isabella of Castile. This union brought together the two most powerful Christian kingdoms, though they remained administratively separate at the time. In history, they are known as Los Reyes Católicos, the Catholic monarchs. Their marriage quietly set in motion the forces that would soon transform Spain forever. The year 1492 stands as an extraordinary one in Spanish history. In January, the fall of Granada marked the completion of the Reconquista. The last Muslim ruler, Boabdil, surrendered. That same year, Jews living in Spain were ordered to either convert to Christianity or leave the country, under what became known as the Alhambra decree, forcing thousands of Jews into exile. And in that very same year, under the patronage of Ferdinand and Isabella, Christopher Columbus set sail westward, hoping to reach India, but instead arrived in the Americas, though he himself never realized he had reached the Americas, opening sustained contact between Europe and the Americas. These three events, the completion of the Reconquista, the expulsion of the Jews, and the discovery of the Americas, together transformed Spain into an emerging new power in Europe. Image prompt: Boabdil surrendering the keys of the...
Following Columbus's voyage, Spain rapidly became one of the world's largest colonial empires. Hernán Cortés conquered the Aztec Empire in 1521, and Francisco Pizarro conquered the Inca Empire in 1533. Spanish colonial rule extended from Mexico to Peru, and enormous quantities of gold and silver flowed in from the Americas, making Spain the wealthiest nation in Europe.
In 1516, the grandson of Ferdinand and Isabella, Carlos, became King of Spain, and later was also crowned Holy Roman Emperor as Charles V. Under his reign, the Spanish Empire expanded across Europe, the Americas, and Asia. It became known as the empire on which the sun never set. His son, Philip II, ruled from 1556 to 1598, during which Spain reached the peak of its power. Philip moved the capital to Madrid and built the famous royal monastery of El Escorial. This era is known as Spain's Siglo de Oro, or Golden Age, a period of unprecedented flourishing in literature and the arts. Miguel de Cervantes wrote Don Quixote, considered one of the greatest novels in world literature. Painters like El Greco and Diego Velázquez enriched the history of European art with their extraordinary works. However, in 1588, the disastrous defeat of the Spanish Armada in its attempted invasion of England marked the first major blow to Spanish naval power. The empire that had seemed unstoppable had just suffered its first great wound. By the 17th century, the Spanish Empire began a gradual decline. Constant warfare, economic mismanagement, and the squandering of wealth flowing in from the Americas weakened the state's foundations. The last Habsburg king, Charles II, was physically frail and left no heir, leading to a succession crisis upon his death in 1700. The throne that had once ruled a global empire now stood dangerously empty. This crisis triggered the War of the Spanish Succession, 1701 to 1714, which drew in the major powers of Europe. At the war's conclusion, Philip of the French House of Bourbon ascended to the Spanish throne as Philip V, though under the condition that the crowns of France and Spain would never be united. This marked the beginning of Bourbon rule in Spain, a dynasty that continues to this day. Throughout the 18th century, Bourbon rulers attempted administrative reforms modeled on French practices, and the economy saw some revival. But the former glory of the empire never fully returned. In 1808, Napoleon Bonaparte took advantage of Spain's internal political crisis to install his own brother, Joseph Bonaparte, on the Spanish throne. But the Spanish people refused to accept this foreign rule. An uprising that began in Madrid on May 2nd grew into widespread resistance, known in history as the Peninsular War. In this war, Spanish guerrilla fighters, with support from British forces, waged a long 6-year struggle against the French army. In 1812, Spain's first modern constitution was drafted in Cadiz, planting the seeds of liberal political thought. Finally, in 1814, French forces were defeated and withdrew from Spain, and King Ferdinand VII returned to the throne. However, the war created an opportunity for independence movements to rise across Latin America, and over the following decades, Spain lost nearly all of its American colonies. The empire that had once stretched across oceans was now unraveling continent by continent. Throughout the 19th century, Spain suffered from ongoing political instability. Power struggles between liberals and conservatives, repeated military coups, and the succession conflicts known as the Carlist Wars weakened state stability. A short-lived republic was established in 1873, but it survived for only about a year before monarchy was restored. In 1898, Spain suffered another major blow. Defeat in the Spanish-American War resulted in the loss of Cuba, Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines, marking the collapse of its remaining overseas empire. This event became known in Spanish history as El Desastre del 98, the disaster of 98, sparking deep national soul-searching. At the start of the 20th century, Spain remained neutral during World War I, though internal political instability continued. In 1923, General Miguel Primo de Rivera seized power through a military coup and ruled as a dictator for several years. But following his fall in 1930, and after anti-monarchist parties won the municipal elections of 1931, King Alfonso XIII went into exile, and the Second Spanish Republic was declared. The period of the Second Republic, 1931 to 1939, was marked by deep social and political polarization. Land reform, educational reform, and changes to church-state relations created intense divisions between left and right. Tensions escalated further after the leftist Popular Front coalition won the elections of 1936. The nation was drifting toward a breaking point. In July 1936, a faction of the military led by General Francisco Franco rose in rebellion against the Republican government. This uprising sparked a devastating civil war that lasted until 1939. On one side stood the nationalist forces, an alliance of conservatives, the church, and monarchists led by Franco, supported by Nazi Germany and fascist Italy. On the other side stood the Republican forces, a coalition of socialists, communists, and anarchists, supported by the Soviet Union and volunteer fighters from around the world known as the International Brigades. This war became a preview of the larger ideological conflict that would soon engulf Europe. The brutal bombing of the town of Guernica by the German Air Force, later immortalized by Pablo Picasso in his famous painting Guernica, became a symbol of the war's cruelty. More than 500,000 people died in this conflict. In 1939, Franco's forces achieved final victory, establishing a long period of authoritarian rule. The guns finally fell silent, but a new and different kind of struggle was about to begin. From 1939 to 1975, for nearly 36 years, Spain was ruled under the authoritarian regime of General Franco. During this period, political opposition was harshly suppressed, press freedom was severely limited, and regional languages and cultures, such as Catalan and Basque, had their public use heavily restricted for long stretches of time. Spain remained officially neutral during World War II, though Franco was ideologically sympathetic to the Axis powers. In the years following the war, Spain remained internationally isolated. But starting in the 1960s, the economy began rapid growth, known as the Spanish Miracle, driven by industrialization and the expansion of tourism. In 1969, Franco announced that the monarchy would be restored after his death, naming Prince Juan Carlos as his chosen successor. Following Franco's death in November 1975, King Juan Carlos ascended to the throne.
many feared he would simply continue Franco's policies. But surprisingly, he actively pursued a path of democratic reform. He appointed Adolfo Suarez as prime minister, who legalized political parties, and in 1977, Spain held its first democratic elections in nearly 4 decades. In 1978, a new democratic constitution was adopted, transforming Spain into a constitutional monarchy and granting substantial autonomy to its regions. In 1981, a group of military officers stormed the parliament in an attempted coup, but King Juan Carlos addressed the nation on television, declaring his support for democracy, a stance that helped defeat the coup and solidify Spain's democratic institutions. In 1986, Spain joined the European Economic Community, which later became the European Union. This membership played a crucial role in Spain's economic modernization and international integration. In 1992, Barcelona hosted the Olympic Games, and Seville hosted the World's Fair, showcasing modern Spain's new identity on the world stage. In the 21st century, Spain has faced various challenges: the impact of the 2008 global financial crisis, high unemployment, and the Catalan independence movement, particularly the political crisis following the 2017 Catalan independence referendum, which Spain's constitutional court had declared unconstitutional. In 2014, King Juan Carlos abdicated the throne, and his son was crowned as King Felipe VI. Today's Spain is a modern, democratic European nation, one that carries within it layers of thousands of years of history. Roman architecture, Moorish palaces, medieval cathedrals, and modern architectural landmarks all reflect the country's multi-layered heritage. From flamenco dance to world-renowned football culture, and the Spanish language itself, now one of the world's major languages, all of it has emerged from this long, complex, and eventful history. The history of Spain is truly a unique blend of many civilizations: Iberian, Roman, Visigothic, Muslim, and Christian, each leaving its own mark. Conquest and defeat, golden ages and dark periods, imperial expansion and decline, all of these together have shaped the Spain we know today. This long journey teaches us that a nation's identity is forged through the blending of many cultures and events over time, gradually taking shape as a unique civilization. And there you have it, the complete story of Spain, a nation shaped by cave painters and Roman engineers, Visigothic kings and Muslim caliphs, crusading knights and conquistadors, dictators and democrats. From the shadowy walls of Altamira to the sunlit streets of modern Madrid, Spain's history is one of the richest and most dramatic journeys in the world. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who loves history, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss the next episode. And let us know in the comments, which country's history would you like us to explore next? Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.